In the quiet spaces between duty and destiny, Sheikh Hamdan made a promise that required no voice. He called her his forever without saying a word, Sheikh Hamdan's eternal promise. The world saw a prince commanding nations, a figure of poise and authority, yet beneath the crown existed a heart bound by devotion so deep it could not be spoken aloud. In every glance, every gesture, every fleeting moment, he revealed a truth more enduring than any declaration, that she was his forever, beyond titles, beyond time, beyond all that the world could measure. His love was not performed for applause, nor was it displayed for admiration. It was subtle, unwavering, and deeply intimate. A simple touch of her hand, a lingering gaze that spoke volumes, the smallest act of attention, each became a silent vow, a wordless testament to the bond that had intertwined their souls. In those moments, Sheikh Hamdan demonstrated a mastery of the most profound language, the language of the heart, which needs no letters, no sound, and no audience to endure. The world may have seen grand gestures of royalty, ceremonies, awards, appearances, but it never saw the depth of his devotion in the pauses between moments. His commitment was expressed in quiet acts, the way he remembered the smallest details of her preferences, the way he anticipated her needs without being asked, the way his eyes lingered on her as if memorizing the contours of her soul. In this silent devotion, he called her his forever in a way that words could never match. Even in the busiest corridors of power, he carried her with him. Her presence lingered in his thoughts during council meetings, in the rhythm of decisions, and in the pauses between speeches. The world might have seen a man of responsibility, but only he knew how effortlessly he wove her into every action, every consideration, every quiet reflection. She was the unseen force guiding his heart, the hidden compass that anchored him amidst the storm of expectation. There were moments when no words could suffice, when the weight of love, loyalty, and longing was too immense for articulation. In those moments, Sheikh Hamdan's silence became the purest expression of his devotion. A gaze across a room, a subtle smile shared in private, the warmth of his hand brushing hers, all became unspoken affirmations of a promise that no time could erase. He had spoken to the world through actions and presence, leaving every observer to marvel at a love that existed without declaration. His poetry carried echoes of this quiet promise. Even when he wrote verses for the world to read, the depth of his devotion remained coded in subtlety. Every metaphor, every line, every cadence hinted at an eternal bond that transcended circumstance. Those who read his words could sense the sincerity, even if they did not fully understand it, a man who loved so profoundly that even silence became a declaration. Love, Sheikh Hamdan understood, is not always loud. It does not require ceremonies, proclamations, or witnesses. True love, the kind he shared with her, exists in presence, in attention, and in constancy. He called her his forever in the way he carried her memory in every decision, in the way he prioritized her happiness in every fleeting thought, in the way he existed fully in moments shared together, even when the world demanded his attention elsewhere. Even when apart, their connection remained unbroken. The distance between them could not diminish the bond, for it was sustained by silent recognition and unwavering devotion. Sheikh Hamdan's heart spoke across miles, carrying reassurance, presence, and fidelity without uttering a single word. His eternal promise was not a fleeting vow, it was a living force, breathing in every heartbeat, echoing in every glance, and whispering in every pause. There were evenings when he would sit alone beneath the moon, letting its silver light illuminate the quiet intensity of his feelings. He did not speak aloud, he did not need to. His heart called her, his mind traced her features, and his soul anchored itself in her essence. Every unspoken sentiment became a sacred covenant, a silent declaration of love that required no acknowledgement but existed fully and eternally within him. In the rhythm of daily life, he infused every interaction with subtle devotion. A careful choice of words, a gentle touch, the deliberate act.
Even when the world tried to pull him in 100 directions, his mind returned to her, as naturally as the tide returns to the shore. Sheikh Hamdan's devotion existed in the small, almost imperceptible moments: a pause before responding to a question, a fleeting smile when thinking of her, the subtle way his eyes softened whenever her name crossed his mind. These gestures were silent declarations, unobserved by most, yet unmistakably clear to those who shared the intimacy of his heart. Without uttering a word, he reaffirmed a promise older than time itself. In the quiet of the night, when the palace halls were empty and the world's noise faded into stillness, he would often find himself lost in thought. Her presence, though unseen, filled the room like sunlight spilling through an open window. Each heartbeat, each inhale, each reflective glance became a wordless confession, a poem written in the language of devotion that required no ink. In those moments, Sheikh Hamdan understood that love's truest expression is not always loud, but it is always profoundly felt. Even the distance between them could not diminish the depth of his commitment. He carried her in memory, in anticipation, in quiet reflection during every task and responsibility. The crown he bore and the duties he performed were never distractions from her, rather, they were infused with her presence, making every decision, every step, and every action subtly shaped by the love that resided in his heart. His eternal promise transcended proximity, proving that love's force does not rely on physical closeness to endure. It is in those moments that he pours himself into verse, sculpting her image in language that sings of longing, admiration, and profound connection. His poetry is a secret kingdom, where she reigns, and he exists simply as the devoted keeper of her presence. Sometimes, in public appearances, a subtle glance or a fleeting gesture betrayed the depth of what he felt. Those who observed closely might catch the shimmer of longing in his eyes or the gentleness of attention reserved only for her. To them, it might have seemed casual, yet it was deliberate, a way of calling her his forever without a single spoken syllable. In these quiet exchanges, Sheikh Hamdan reminded the world that devotion is often invisible, powerful precisely because it does not demand recognition. Sheikh Hamdan's writing reminds us that love does not always seek display, sometimes it seeks preservation. It thrives not in applause but in quiet acts of remembrance. Even in the most public moments, a part of his spirit remains tucked away, devoted to her alone. She is his quiet companion, his muse, and his solace. Behind every smile he offers the world, behind every act of leadership, there is a man whose truest expressions are reserved for the pen and the memory of her. In this hidden devotion, his poetry becomes not just words, but lifelines, fragile yet enduring, intimate yet universal. His silent promise extended into the poetry he wrote privately, verses that captured the weight and grace of his feelings. Words, while beautiful, were only shadows of the love that pulsed through his being. Each line, each stanza, each carefully chosen phrase became a conduit to honor her presence, to preserve the eternal bond they shared, and to keep the essence of their connection alive across the flow of time.